Welcome back to the shop here at Basin Motorsports. I'm Canaan. Today I'm going to take you through the steps to oil or lubricate your brand new NC machine. We're going to take you through kind of the frequency of how to do it, where to do it on the machine, and what it does for you. Now I'm going to break this down into basically three main places you're going to do. You're going to do the bottom of the machine, the top of the machine, and then kind of the top of the plate. Let's go ahead and do the very bottom of the machine. That way, that is out of the way, and then you can worry about everything above the surface plate. Now to get started with our machine, we can go ahead and tilt this back till it stops. So you're going to lift it here. It's going to rotate back on the hinges until it stops there. Now I like to use my light here, so I just kind of got it out of the way, but it helps illuminate the bottom of the sewing machine. Now one thing you're going to see on the bottom here is going to be your reservoir tank. You're going to notice on it, it has a red line across it, and that is going to be your line to make sure that you're filled too. So if your oil goes below the red, you're going to add some oil into it. Now in order to do that, we can take this screw out here. This opens up to a hole that feeds down into this reservoir. And we're going to go ahead and fill this now. I'm just going to top it off just to make sure that my machine is ready to go before the first sew. Now with any brand new machine, you're going to get two containers of oil. One is going to be your smaller container that has enough in here, and it's going to have a small tip to go with it. So I'm going to go ahead and use this to add oil to the machine. This already has oil in it. And then once this runs out, you can then use the bigger container of sewing machine oil that comes with it. So this is kind of your as needed. This is a quart of oil, but when you need more, you can just go ahead and get some straight from NC directly. Now that we have our tip on the reservoir here, this already has a hole in it, so you don't need to cut anything open. We're just going to add the tip down in there. We're going to add a little bit of oil. And I'm going to watch the red line to make sure it doesn't need any more. And when it's full, you'll see that it will drip out a little bit. You can just use a towel to wipe that off and then put your plug or your screw back in. Next, we're going to worry about the top of the machine itself. Now on the top, there's going to be a cover here. It's going to have one screw in this upper corner or far left corner of the piece. And it has a little sticker on it that says oil. We need to use a screwdriver to take out this fastener, and then we're going to take this cover off. Now inside of your cover, you're going to see a small little bit of reservoir here with a felt pad right there. Now this is where you're going to add your oil. So this should be, let's say, damp but not runny. So we're going to add a little bit of oil to that. And the goal here is just to add enough oil that it's wet, it's damp, but it doesn't have to be overly saturated. Once you have that done, you can see down in there, that's going to wick down in the machine itself. Now I can just go ahead, kind of clean up around on the housing if I drop anything there, and then I can go ahead and put my cover back on. Now the last section you're going to add oil to, there are going to be some holes in the surface plate and the machine that are going to be highlighted in red. I'll show you a few of the places here. You can see a red next to the knob. You can see a red down here under the plate. Another red, another red. These do not have anything. Red, 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 nothing, red, red, etc. Now each of those we're going to add about 2 to 3 drops into those. They do have some felt in them to help soak up that oil, and it's going to help distribute that oil as it's needed for the machine. So you can go ahead and take some time, go ahead and add in 2 to 3 drops in each of those. And if you get any on the surface plate or on the machine, just use a paper towel, just go ahead and clean it off. And then we will talk about the frequency of how you have to do this. Now, just those 3 basic key steps of the bottom, the top, and all of the red dots. All 3 of those is going to lubricate this machine as appropriately ready to go. So now that it's ready to go, you're going to ask, so when do I need to add more oil to lubricate everything else? Now, when you flip on the bottom, you see the red line on there. If the oil is below the red line, you want to add oil until it is filled above it, or just a couple drops come out of the hole that you take the plug out of and fill it in there. Now that may be 1 day, 3 days, 5 days, kind of depends. It's pretty easy just to kind of flip it up at the beginning of the day, look at it, add oil if needed, If not, just drop it back down. The top up here, you don't even have to take off the cover if you don't want to. Loosen up the screw. This will actually rotate out of the way, and then you can add your oil right here. And if you feel pretty good about not even visually inspecting it, you don't even have to move the cover. There's actually a hole in it where it says oil. That goes straight down into that felt. You can add a couple drops in there every day at startup, and then probably not even have to maintain it or have to look at it further. But if you do, you can just take the cover off completely if you need to look at everything, or you can just rotate it out of the way just to look at the felt. Very easy to do. Now that all these red dots around the surface and around the machine, you want to do those probably on a heavy sewing day at the very beginning of the day. 2 to 3 drops is enough for a day's worth of work. If you're only doing part days or maybe a fix here or fix there, you might do it every 2 or 3 times of using the sewing machine. It never hurts it to add a little bit extra oil. If there's too much in the machine, what tends to happen is it drops down into the pan below the machine. That way it catches there. Typically it's not going to spill out below. And with that, you are ready to go. Your machine is well oiled. It's a well-oiled machine, and now you're ready to do some sewing. If you have any questions or comments about any of this process, where to buy the oil or anything else once you run out, or if you need some for a machine you just bought, go ahead and check down in the video description. I'll have links to all this, plus the machine itself. If you have any comments or questions, go ahead and leave us down in the comment section. Otherwise, get yourself a well-oiled machine and get to sewing. We'll see you next time.